Welcome back. My name is Brandon. Today we've got a MIG welding and fabrication job. Stick around. This is what we're working on today, guys, to get you up to speed to what we're doing. My customer has a kitchen cabinet on the wall. It's somewhat in a corner, so it's an L-shaped kitchen that I'm doing here. And there's another cabinet over here on this wall. This section right here has nothing in it. Our customer wants us to build them some shelves out of metal that resemble a rack that they currently have in their kitchen. So what I'm going to do is I went to the project, I took some measurements, and we are going to build one of them for approval. It's going to be kind of rough. They're aware of that. The reason I'm showing you guys this project is because some of you may very well be faced with projects like this and wondering how are you going to do it. So this is a big design element, and I don't have anything to really show them. So the best way, I think, the solution to this is for me to build a rough mock-up, bring it to them, have them look it over, see if they like it, and then if they like it, then I can build the rest of them, because they want two on this side, and then there's some more cabinets over here where they want two of. So when I went there, I took some fairly rough measurements. When we do the final build and get the approval on this, I'll actually make templates so that these fit perfectly on their cabinets. But this will just kind of give them an idea by looking at it of, the face of it, the density, how it looks, spacing of the slats and whatnot, just so they can get a feel of it, something I can hold up that they can look at. So as this is drawn, there's going to be a face that's going to be a little bit bolder, and then there's going to be the same material along the back side here, because we've got to be able to anchor this to the wall, and then the ends of the shelves will end up getting anchored into the cabinets this way. So I think we're going to have a diagonal piece maybe here, then we're going to run some slats that go along like this, and then same thing that go along like this, and then we'll probably end up having to put like a strong back in the middle here and in here underneath to keep that from bowing, because we've got 30.5 on this measurement and 21 here. So that's what we're going to work on. We're going to start getting our material cut. I'll bring you in and show you what we're working with. This right here is 1 inch wide, 1/8 inch thick, so that's going to be the front and the back that we spoke of. These are going to be the slats. This is 3/4 of an inch wide, 3/16 thick. This is a real handy tool when you're at the metal yard and you want to find out what you're looking for from material and what you got for sizes. Tape measuring this will get you a long ways in a metal yard. To give you guys a visualization of what this measurement looks like, this 30.5 and then coming back 21 between these cabinets, this right here is 30, and I placed this pencil at 21. So that'll kind of give you an idea. And then we're going to come in 12, back that way. That'll be a little angle. Then over that way. That'll be back 12 inches deep there. That's what we're building. Should look pretty slick. And we're going to talk about all kinds of considerations when you're looking at jobs and you're building stuff like this, because these are actually difficult jobs. Although this isn't overly complicated to build, you want to make sure that you're building something that your customer is going to enjoy, because they're going to be looking at it for a while. But you also don't want to go making 20 different prototypes. So it's really important that you sit down and talk with your customer, kind of find out, a feel for their design style, what they're looking to achieve. If they can provide you with an example, that's a huge help, and my customer did. So we're kind of copying something they already have. So that makes things a lot easier. And then as we go throughout the video, one of the things I'm sure you guys are going to want to know is how do you charge your customer? How do you figure out a cost for doing this stuff? And we're going to talk about that too. The first piece we're going to cut is that 1 inch material. We're going to cut one at 30.5, and we're going to cut another one at 21, or just a whisker under 21, and that one just a whisker under 30.5, because we don't want to fight this in. Like I said, this isn't going to be a permanent piece. This is basically a mock-up so that they can just get an idea of what we're doing. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but we're going to make sure it looks decent enough that they can get the idea of what this will look like in their kitchen. This saw is going to be awesome for this project, guys, because we have to do some miters, and this saw rotates just like a regular miter saw. It's going to make this go by a lot quicker. Now we'll make this piece, which is 12 inches deep, but we'll have to allow for the 1/8 inch on the back, and then we're going to have an 1/8 inch on the front. So 1/8 and 1/8 is 1/4. So this is actually going to be 11 3/4. Same thing for here. One of the things I really love about this machine, guys, is that when you go to set it up and you use just like the synergic mode, which are the automatic, basically the automatic settings, it's just right. It's kind of like always just where it needs to be. Turn on our bottle, stand it off to the side, open it up slow. I know this, I say this every time, but I do this for the new people. And open it up all the way. These types of valves always seal when they're always open, so make sure for your argon and C25 and stuff like that, you open the tank all the way. Let's set our gas pressure. We are at 18 CFH. That looks good. And 1/8 inch material is 125 thousandths, so there we are. We're running steel wire. We're in 2T mode. We're using 30 thousandths wire on C25 gas. And we're in synergic mode, meaning that the machine is setting the wire feed speed and the voltage all on its own, based off that parameter. Or you could also set it by amperage or wire feed speed if you knew what that was. We'll drop some shoulder bolts into our fabrication table that we built. Throw one there, let's put one there, and another one there. We're just going to get some real quick tacks on it, just so we can get this shaped up, and then if we need to modify some things, we can just, trim it by hand or whatever. And if you guys want to know how I built this fabrication table, I'll link a playlist, and it's a link to my Ultimate Tools build series, and it's all the tools in my shop that I built. I button these up just like this. Pretty much has to be 90 degrees. I'm going to tack this on the back. There. That way I can just kind of grind it smooth, and it'll break off a lot easier. Drop a couple more pins along the back to keep the back straight. So this piece right here is this. It just belongs over here. So if I take this same piece, bring it up here, and then put a straight edge between the two, this is going to give me exactly where that other piece needs to intersect into this. And draw that line right on the table. And then this needs to go, it's going to end up being right there, so that's the intersection point, right there to there. And then I can just draw this line right here. And there it is, that's that inside corner. Now we'll make this measurement to the inside 9 inches long. Now we can also figure out what this measurement is right here, because it's that measurement from there to there. 18 7/8. There it is, guys. That's the shelf shape pretty much. Alright, this is the last tack for the frame, then we can start filling it in. I figured this would be a great time to show you how I'm going to keep everything straight and consistent and all at 90 degrees, because as you can see, this material is kind of like flimsy, this frame, until we actually start getting it welded up with the slats. But we don't want to put the slats on it if the frame's out of square. So we got to keep the frame square, and this being flat bar on edge makes it a little more difficult. So what I've done is I just took some 1.5 inch angle iron and made a 90 degree on my back table. And when I made these clamps, I made the clamps that go into the fixture table using the same exact shoulder bolts that I use for my table. So if I was to use a table stop, that would be that right there. Well, this is exactly what is welded onto this. And the reason that is so beneficial is you can see that that material stop is actually bumping into my material. So my clamp is my material stop. This angle is bumped in right there. It's bumped in over there. And then I just squeeze the clamps down. So I know that that piece of angle on the back is parallel. Then I just clamped one to the edge of my table, just using regular vice grips. So now I know that I have a 90 degree here. And then I clamped my long edge, which is going to go against the wall, and then this edge here. So I clamped this flat bar right to that. So now I have a 90 degree that can't move. So now I need to make sure that this section right here between these two cabinets, that this section here doesn't get all wonky. So now that I got this pinned and this pinned, then I just take a basic framing square and put it in the corner and make sure that that's at a 90, and I clamp it down. And this is another great thing that you guys can do. I just take a regular cheap framing square and just snip the corner off it. So if you look down in here, you'll see why. See that weld down in there? That way, when you want to like square something up and check it for square, you don't have to worry about if you have an inside corner weld getting in the way. So that works nice for that. So now I know I got that square. So then I just come over here. Then I square this corner. Again, got another weld in that corner. And you can see how that's getting cleared around that. So now this and this is square. Then I can check this inside corner with a framing square. And if it all comes out right, this should be a 90 degree inside corner. Which it is. There we go. So now that we have this all pinned down and set in nice, now we can start infilling our slats. So I think I'm going to start out by putting a slat from this corner to this corner on edge, and then mitering all the slats into it. So they're going to have a miter joint down this corner. Then we're going to talk here in a little bit about pricing and how I come up with this stuff, how much I charge for this mock-up. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. And the reason I like to talk about this stuff, like I said, guys, is that I'm sure that some of you are watching this and you're thinking to yourself, you know, that would be kind of fun to build. There's not a lot of risk. And how do I get involved in this? And if I do get involved in this and I do decide to take on these little projects, how do you charge and, you know, how do you go about doing it? That's the scary part, because you don't want to give someone a price and then have it be like way more and you end up eating a whole bunch of money. And you also don't want to have it priced so low that you didn't make any money. That wouldn't be advantageous either. So there is a fine balance in there. And you absolutely can make some side money doing this, and it's great, guys, and I would encourage any of you that are considering doing this, you know, just pick up a little bit of side money and, you know, making decorative stuff or functional things like this or whatever it is that interests you. I would encourage you guys to go do it, because it is very rewarding and it's a lot of fun. And personally, I think for anyone who has maybe like a high-stress job or something like that, it's also great for your mental health just to get away and have a hobby and do something that you enjoy. So we'll get a measurement on this. So we're looking at about 16 5/16. Before I start cutting this metal, you can see how dirty it is. It's filthy. That metal right there actually looks like that. The difference is this is hot rolled, meaning that it's heated up, and then as it cools, it forms like this oxide mill scale layer on the outside. This is cold rolled, so it doesn't get that layer, so they apply a coating to it to keep it from rusting, whereas when this is formed, it actually creates its own coating when it cools so it doesn't rust. So first thing I want to do is get this nasty coating off it. And one way of doing that is just using some chain and sprocket degreaser. If you guys watch my motorcycle channel, you'll know I'm into motorcycles too, so I have that stuff on hand, but it just works really good. And it's really controlled, so it doesn't like spray all through your shop. Acetone will work too. And you just kind of squirt it on. Then you just use an old junk rag and wipe it off. Comes off super easy. You don't have to work it or anything. And the good thing is all you have to do is squirt it on one side, and it'll clean both when you wipe it down. Just your rag being damp with that stuff will clean it up real nice. So as I show you this stuff, These are all considerations that you have to take into account when you are purchasing your material and when you're pricing out a job. So just know that if it doesn't require you to take the mill scale off, then hot rolled would be maybe the easier way of going about it and the cheaper way, because hot rolled costs less. Cold rolled costs a little bit more, and you're going to have to clean it up as I'm doing here. So those are additional cost considerations that you may have to take into account. So the cold roll costs more money, and it also has a layer on it that you may want to have to clean off. This angle will give us a place to transition from this direction of the shelf to this direction. Then I just put a little spacer up underneath just to hold that up flush to the top. You can see how it kind of left like a little gap underneath, but that'll just make it easier to weld and hold in place. And I just slide these spacers out now. So now would be a good time to check all your work. Make sure everything didn't move, everything's square. I've moved this clamp back because this now is locked in. It can't move in because this is here, and it can't move back because that's there. So I've just moved this back to hold it down. And now we can also check and see what this angle is. I actually think it's going to be 45 degrees. Slide this in. And there it is, 45 there. And 45 there. So I'm going to start running my slats this way. They're 3/4 wide, so I'm going to do a 3/4 slat, 3/4 space, 3/4 slat, 3/4 space, and on and on and on. Whatever we end up with at the back is whatever we end up with. I'm not going to try to like balance it all out and make it all even. If it mattered or it would be visually seen, I would 100% absolutely lay it all out to make sure that everything is balanced out equally from the front slat to the back slat, and then make all my gaps identical in between. That takes a lot more work because it requires math, and when you start doing math, then you have a potential for mistakes. So from experience, I'm telling you that if you can do it the way I'm going to show you how to do it, it's a lot easier to do it this way than avoid mistakes, so you're not cutting your work apart when you get to the end and realize that your math was off or something shifted and whatever. I'll start by taking a measurement here. So this will be what I call to the short point, so to the short side of the 45. And it looks to be right about 9 inches. One of the great features about this saw, guys, is that it does 45-degree miter cuts either way on this table. I absolutely love that. Set it for 45, we'll lock it in. Now just remember, when you cut like this on the flat, to make that 45-degree cut, that causes additional wear on this blade. It's always best if you cut with the material on edge versus laying it flat like this. But to make this cut, this is how we have to do it. And because we are cutting it on a 45, I'm going to use a couple clamps on it. And we said we needed this to be 9 inches long from the short point, and I call this the long point. So we're measuring from the short point here, back 9 inches. And I'll do that by setting my tape measure at 10 on the short point and making a mark on the material at 1 inch. Alright, let's see how this fits. I actually decided I wanted to go with like a little spacer so it overhangs on the front a little bit. So I just got a little piece of aluminum scrap. It's maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. I'm just going to overhang the front just a little bit to give it some dimension. Now what I want to do is I want to get this first one tacked on here so I can start getting some measurements for all the others that fall in behind it. I think this probably right here, we'll just kind of tack it right on the very end just to hold it there. Just like that. And we'll have to do something over here. Ideally, like doing it from under the underside would be ideal. Be nice to try to get one maybe right up underneath, but I don't know if I can. Maybe. Might have worked. I think it did. Yeah. Yeah, it did. So with that one tacked on, now we can just kind of like throw a spacer in there and put our next one on. And we could tack that one in place if we wanted. And go right down the line and just continue on down. And I think that that's what we'll do. Then there'll be a 3/4 inch space, then another one over here. Then once we get all these tacked on, we'll flip it over and we'll do some nice good spot tacks on the bottom side. Alright guys, I think that that is the design that they're going for, and the balance worked out pretty good. The spacing all looks pretty consistent across the whole thing, I think. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off my clamps, flip this upside down because I couldn't get this one over here, and I want to just get another tack on each of these in a couple places just to kind of hold it together. Just put a few more tacks underneath just to help hold everything together. This is, again, just a prototype. It's just a mock-up, so we're not going to put a ton of weld on it. It's not necessary because most likely they're going to want to make some changes and it probably have to be cut apart anyways. Now that I got this side done, this side will go super easy and super fast, because rather than me like holding a spacer there and then trying to get the measurement, I don't have to do that on this side. This side, I can just hook it onto this piece right here. My measurement will be to the long point, so I just hook it there, run it over, and we can see that my first measurement would be 19 1/8. So I can actually go through and cut all of these right ahead of time, make things go a lot quicker. So that one is going to go right there. Move this clamp out of the way. That way it won't interfere with these other measurements that we got to do. And that's it, guys. And that's probably not much more than what I would put for weld on that for the finished product. Then over here, so yeah, I'm just going to clean this up now and we will get this over to our customer. I could even mock up these last two with some 1-inch plate and see if they like the looks of that. So that way they could compare some 1-inch plate versus the 3/4 and see what they got to say. Maybe that's what I'll do with this last piece right here and just see what they got to say about it. And here it is, guys. Here's my mock-up, and I just have to get with my customer and bring it to her house and set it up and see what she wants to do, if she wants to change anything. how she wants to do it, but I need a total of 4 of these. So we got this one, and then we got 3 more to do once she decides on a final design. So what you guys want to know is, how do I charge and what do I do? Well, I feel like this lady, and this is a gamble, this lady is going to definitely do something. And I could have asked her for some money to help build this, but I didn't. I'm kind of banking on the fact that hopefully she's going to build something with me. I did this for nothing. I'm going to bring this over to her, and I'm going to design something for her to the point that she likes it. And I've got about probably 60 bucks in materials to do all this, to do this shelf. So you know that each shelf is going to be at least $60 in materials. So there's 4 shelves, there's 240 bucks. And the way I price stuff out is I get $80 an hour, and doing this, just, you know, making all your cuts, if you only did one, you're going to take probably about 4 to 5 hours to build this. So you're going to have, let's say, 5 hours at $80 an hour. That's 400 bucks. So this shelf right here would be approximately $460. So whatever she decides, we will hone it down. We will figure out exactly how she wants it. The great thing is that my customer kind of knows what they want. So they had like a bread rack, and they sent me some pictures of the bread rack. And when I went there, I measured it all out, so I kind of know what the look is they're going for. So if they like the thickness and, you know, the boldness and the overlap here and all of that, there's going to be a little additional cost because I'm going to get it powder coated. So I will get with my powder coater, and I'll have to get with her, find out a color that she wants. Then we'll get these powder coated and get these individually built. Now, when I go to make the actual final design, I'm actually going to make templates. I'm going to use cardboard or like thick paper, like craft paper, and actually make a template right out and make each one so they fit super tight. Because, you know, even brand new houses don't have absolutely 100% 90-degree corners, and then the cabinet doesn't come perfectly 90 degrees off that. There's always little variations here and there. And the real critical measurement is going to be that the face of the side of this butts nice and flush to the side of the cabinet, and the side of this butts nice and flush to the side of the cabinet. So I want to make sure that those measurements are absolutely perfect, and the way to do that is a template. So all in all, to do 4 shelves, she's going to be looking at just under $2,000 on my end, plus whatever it is to powder coat. But that's how I figure out how my stuff goes. Now, you could say to your customer, yeah, I figure that the material is going to cost me $60, and, you know, whatever you charge an hour, let's just say $100. And if we can't come to a conclusion at the end of it, you'll just owe me for my time and materials, and we'll part ways, however that works. But the one thing that I have to say, guys, I can't stress it enough, make sure you communicate really well with your customer. Make sure you have very open communication. If you can't do something, make sure you tell them you can't do it. It's easy to get lost in the shuffle and hustle and bustle of life and forget about stuff. So try your best to have a calendar, keep on top of stuff. And if you can't make it to your customer's house, make sure you call them and just let them know everything that's going on, because most people are pretty forgiving, I find, in life. It's when you're no call, no show, and you leave people hanging that's what causes 99% of people problems. So just make sure that you're staying on top of things. I've been in business for myself for many, many years, starting at a really young age, probably in my 20s, and that was one of the lessons I had to learn the hard way. Was I would overbook myself, overpromise myself, and overcommit. I wasn't overly great with communication, because back then we didn't have cell phones and the instant communication that we had. So sometimes with people were left hanging, and people get irritated when you do that. So just make sure you have real good communication with your customer, and you'll get a good reputation for yourself. And I would also add too, guys, if you did forget about your customer, or didn't show up, or made a mistake, like we all do, it happens, we all miss appointments, we overpromise something, overbook ourselves, make it up to the customer. Let them know that you're apologetic for that, and whatever you got to do, give them a break, cut them a deal. That's how I like to do it. I think it goes a long ways. This was a small job that this customer wanted me to do, and I kind of like a little bit forgot about it, and because other things kind of got busy. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just doing this template for free and getting all the materials, and going to make sure that I give this job the attention that it needs so that they can get the product, the end result that they want. And hopefully these people will be appreciative. That's the end goal. They'll be appreciative, and hopefully down the road they'll give me more work. And if they don't, at least they're going to hopefully tell their friends, say, you know, the guy was great to deal with, super helpful and whatnot. And that's kind of what you're looking for. And that's how you get more business, because when people hear good things, it travels out. When people hear bad things, it travels even further. It's important that you try to, you know, set a good example when you do stuff, and try to do it the best you can, and have a positive image, and people will hopefully pick up on that and maybe give you more business. Because I know a lot of the people, like I said earlier, a lot of people watching this channel are looking to maybe branch out or even do some side work, and those are just kind of like some basic fundamentals. If you keep that in your head and just keep open communication with your customer, people are pretty reasonable when you're open with them, I find. And that's all there is to it, guys. I will do a follow-up video at some point after I get with the customer and tell you exactly what they decided on, how they wanted to do it, and what we ended up going with, and I'll actually be building that on the channel. So new videos every Friday. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next week, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.